This is the Experienced Optimist, and I'm going to try to be as honest as I can be. Back in the day, I used to be a diehard Christian conservative, and I mean diehard Christian conservative. I was a back the blue type. Law enforcement could do whatever they wanted. Me and my father used to listen to Rush Limbaugh every day, and one of my main inspirations and who I wanted to be like was General Colin Powell in the military because he was a Caribbean descent and he made it pretty far in the military. So I wanted to be like him. But General Powell was also kind of a bootlicker. What do I mean by that? He was one of those guys that he was like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Racism doesn't really exist and it's not going to hold you back. All you have to do is just work hard. And that whole meritocracy argument with this, which is a whole bunch of bullshit in the long term. And this guy, he was like the first black Secretary of State. He got his wake up call when they blamed him for the Iraq War. He was a cheerleader for that war. And then when it didn't go as well as it was supposed to go, they threw this guy under the bus. And that's what happens when you're a bootlicker. And in the military, there were guys that were trying to get me to understand why being a bootlicker is not a good thing, where you need to stand up on your own 2 feet and stop putting other people on a pedestal. And in the Caribbean, and I spoke about this before, a lot of times we put white people on a pedestal. And in Africa, it's really bad. I've lived in 4 countries in Africa, visited 7. It's really bad in Africa. And if you really want to see why you shouldn't be a bootlicker, just come to Africa. Um, these guys in the military, white guys, racist white guys, black dudes, they were trying to get me to grow a pair and stand on my own 2 feet and have a code for my life and stop bootlicking and trying to get ahead that way. And the thing is, when you're a bootlicker, it's kind of like they talk about MGTOW when it comes to women. You're putting women on a pedestal. You're thinking they're better than you in some cases, and you're throwing all your you're doing everything to try to get with them, and it doesn't work out in the long term. And it's the same thing with bootlicking. Candace Owens is a perfect example of this. Candace Owens, she's Caribbean descent as well, and I could tell. I knew exactly what she was up to when she was writing for Breitbart. I used to read her articles. I used to read articles on Ben Shapiro, and I knew what she was doing. She was just grifting, and she married some white dude out of Britain. And in the Caribbean, we tend to do a lot of that type of stuff. Well, she recently got thrown out of Daily Wire, and no one came to her aid. Not really. All these people who were supposedly her friends didn't come to her aid. Even her own husband, the white guy, he didn't even stick up for his wife. Because ultimately, when you're a bootlicker, what will happen is people will use you to get your message out, but they don't respect you. And Candace Owens, she's a perfect example of that. So, getting back to me, I have a lot of life experience, man. I've read a lot of neo-Nazi propaganda. I've read the Great Replacement Theory. I've read all the stuff that a lot of neo-Nazi dudes talk about. I've read all that bullshit. I've been to, I lived overseas, French Guiana. I've lived in Puerto Rico. I've lived in Mexico. I've been to Thailand 4 times, Brazil 3 times. I've been to Peru. I've been to Colombia twice. I've lived in Ottawa, in Canada, Ottawa. I've lived in Montreal. I've lived all over the United States. I've lived in Canada. I've seen all that liberal bullshit. But I've also lived in conservative places in Vegas and Oklahoma. And I saw that conservatism bullshit too. I've lived, well, where else have I been? I lived in Russia, on the Baikonur base where they launch satellites out of. I've lived there. I've been to Albania, Montenegro, France, Spain, Luxembourg, lived in Germany, recently went back to Germany. So I have a lot of experience, and probably more than like 90% of the world in terms of experience. Also with military, military experience, support the war effort in the military. I keep up with foreign policy. I know what's going to happen in China, in Africa, in South America, those things. So I'm not a slouch. But the only problem I had, a big problem I had, was bootlicking. I put white people on a pedestal, and you shouldn't do that, man. And people will get butthurt. They're like, "Oh man, you shouldn't think like that." I don't really have time for that bullshit anymore, man. I'm not a bootlicker anymore. I don't really care about what you have to say. I've experienced it. I've done, like I said, I've probably more life experience than many other people. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And when people come and try to gaslight me and tell me all this bullshit, I don't even listen to them anymore because I know the real deal. And um, I had guys, real dudes in the military that tried to teach me this stuff in the past, and I didn't listen to them. And it took me like 30 years to deprogram myself. And I understand why a lot of dudes out there, when you've been brought up with this idea that you're superior to everybody, a lot of white cats, you're superior to everybody. It takes a long time to get rid of that brainwashing, and that's why you shouldn't be a bootlicker, man. That's why you should learn how to think for yourself. You should travel around, get good experiences from traveling. Start thinking strategically, strategic planning. Now that I'm overseas, I don't have to worry about these RDAs, racist douchebags, and assholes anymore. I'm good. I don't really hang out with white cats anymore because they're racism, man. Like a lot of them have that unconscious bias or conscious bias, and they believe in these notions that I've read about, like these neo-Nazi type notions. I don't hang out with black cats anymore because a lot of them have self-hate issues, and they'll stab you in the back to get what they'll do is they'll stab you in the back to try to get approval from the white people that are around them. It happened so many times to me. So I don't really hang out with them anymore. I don't hang out with Asians. Asians have self-hate issues. Um, a lot of them, to be honest, are as racist as the racist white person that you're gonna meet. Same thing with people, uh, um, Middle Eastern people as well. I've had run-ins with them. A lot of self-hate issues there. So a lot of dudes I don't even hang out with anymore because I can see with all my life experience, military experience, I can see them coming a mile away. I know what they're gonna do within, I know what they're gonna do before they even think about what they're gonna do. 2 months down the line, I already know. I already know the deal. When I first meet them and they're talking about this conservative bullshit or whatever, I can see that in them. I'm like, okay, I already know where this guy's going. When it's liberals, the same thing. Oh well, we need to do this. I can already see where it's going. So that bullshit that they're trying to pull, the gaslighting, I already know. I already know the deal. So that's the reason why I wanted to make this video just to give people a kind of understanding where I'm coming from, the experiences that I've had, why being a bootlicker is bad. Oh, another reason why being a bootlicker, no one respects bootlickers down the line, especially when it comes to like racial bootlicking. Here's the deal: racist people, RDAs, racist people, douchebags, and assholes. They know when you're trying to kiss up to them, they know that you're bullshitting because behind closed doors, they know that a lot of times that they're racist and they have advantages and how they treat other people. So when you're trying to bootleg for them and tell people, oh, it's the victims, it's their fault. Um, oh, these people don't do anything. Generally, when it comes to people from the Caribbean, Africa, and stuff, they'll talk about white people. They'll say, "Oh, they don't do anything. They're great. They civilize the world. Well, those same people know behind closed doors that you're bullshitting, so they don't respect you. They know that you're lying just to get close to them. And a bootlicker, long term, a bootlicker will a bootlicker doesn't stand for nothing. So if you don't stand for anything, why would I want to hang around you? So that's the reason why people don't like bootlickers long term. So yeah, man, that's all I wanted to say. Some people might get butthurt about this, but to be honest, I don't give a fuck. To be honest, and that's it, man. I'll talk to you later.